But let's say you have someone who wants to maybe spend some time abroad. Maybe it's a student or someone who's retiring. What are some of the options that you recommend or that are available to Americans?
Great question. And even before I mention the various visas, what I want to say is that it's very doable. For a person who wants to live in France, there's usually a visa that we can find for them. So there's basically 4 routes into France, via studies, via work, via relationship, or via the long stay visitor visa. And visitor visa ends up being the route for about half of my clients. It's for a person who's not looking for a French job or having French clients. That can then end up being a good route for them to come into France. If they can have housing, they can have their finances, if they can have health coverage, then they can manage to get this long stay visitor visa in relatively short order. It takes about 2 to 4 weeks to prepare any given visa application. The maximum amount of processing time is 3 weeks for any visa application once submitted. And for that visitor visa, it's 8 days. So the fastest I've ever seen a woman, and I met on February 3rd for consultation. By February 28th, she had her visa and her passport already ready to move to France and live what I call her best French life. But my advice, Scott, to your question, depends on the age of the person. So a person between ages 20 to 30, I'm either thinking of I'm usually thinking of the student route, coming in either to do language classes to get good at French, because we could all be better at French, or to pursue master's degrees, because that was my route, and it's one of the best ways to enter the French labor market. A person maybe 30 plus to consider that long stay visitor visa, including, retirees. That could also be a good route in. And for those who are ambitious and looking to open a company in France, I end up recommending the entrepreneur visa. So depends on the person's profile, depends on the best route in, but there's usually a way to make the move happen.
Now, do all of the visas, in order to process them, do you have to apply before you go to France, or do you apply for any once you arrive?
So I usually say there's about roughly 30 categories, give or take, of visas, and 29 of them are filed from abroad, from the French consulate, let's say in the US. And that the one that you just show up here as a tourist and then you make your situation once you're here is the spouse of an EU national, because EU nationals are allowed to move around Europe and bring their spouse with them, and then show up as tourists and get a local status from the local prefecture.
Thanks for watching this clip. If you liked it and you want to see the entire interview, you can find it just right there. So go ahead and click it.